Hi mamas, it's me Jess. So today is vlog number 4, and I think what we're going to talk about today is spouses and significant others, and kind of how that transition is with becoming pregnant and the changes you're going through, and how your significant other kind of responds to that, and the kind of changes that they go through, and just a couple of things that Adam and myself have gone through, and things that we found that have helped, in case some of you end up going through some of the same things. So the first thing I will say is, the whole transition from in baby brain, I can't even talk. The whole transition getting into pregnancy and how your body changes is, a whole one other story. But how that affects your relationship is huge. And I know for Adam and myself, it was a huge transition. We got pregnant on our honeymoon. So we were very newly married when we got pregnant, which is what we wanted. So I'm not complaining about that. But it did take a little bit of an adjustment for both of us in terms of what our new normal would be, because let's face it, the first trimester, we've talked about it, you're exhausted, you're feeling sick, you don't want to do anything. I would go to work and I'd come home and I'd lay on the couch. And this isn't to say that, Adam wasn't supportive or anything like that, but I do think it's completely different for your significant other who isn't pregnant and isn't going through those changes to really understand what you're going through. And that's not to their fault. I mean, they don't have a baby growing inside them. They're not going through those changes physically and mentally that you are. So it is very hard for them to understand. But with that, there can come some conflict. And Adam and I definitely went through that in the beginning. I found, even with little things, I would come home and, originally, because we lived together for a couple of years before we even got married, and, I'd come home and we would have time for each other. We would make dinner, or we would go out and we would do things. And now all of a sudden I'm coming home and I don't even want to move. I don't want to cook dinner. We're having to order in, or if I'm making something, it's super simple. Or he's having to make something. So we would definitely argue about little things like that, because he'd be kind of like, why are you sleeping all the time? And why aren't you spending time with me? And it's, it's one thing to say like, I'm tired, but it's so hard to explain the type of tired that you feel when you're pregnant, and to really have them understand. And that falls into, the sexual aspect of things, to be completely transparent, and that, you're exhausted, like you're nauseous, you're feeling sick, you're not feeling like yourself. The last thing you really want to do is have sex. So we definitely had an adjustment there. And there's definite arguments, and I think it takes time for them to really process that change as well. And I think for myself, if I were to look back, I probably, and I think it could be hormonal. I was very quick to be like, how dare you question why I'm sleeping all the time, and how dare you, be mad that I want to go to bed, or, I don't want to have sex, or, you know what I mean? Because I'm feeling so deeply how I'm feeling, and I'm going through these changes, and my hormones are crazy. But looking back, it's like, well, they're adjusting too. Adam was adjusting too. This is brand new for him. He just got married. He's just found out he's having a baby. Now his wife wants, like, nothing to do with him, but in his eyes, it's like, what's going on, So I wish I was a little bit more understanding, and had a little bit of patience, and kind of understood that a little bit. One of the big things, I think is too for them, and Adam has said it, is, they're obviously not feeling what we're going through, but they don't see it in the beginning either, right? You don't really start showing that you're pregnant till, it's different for every woman, but I didn't start showing till I was probably 16 weeks. So it's a long time. It's hard to really fully understand that you're pregnant when, sorry, she's kicking me in my ribs right now and it's killing me. it's really hard for them to understand even more so because they don't see the changes. And especially if they're a visual person, I think that's hard. And I think for me, my biggest thing was, you know, anytime that there was like an argument or I was frustrated, you know, I had a headache and I just wasn't feeling well. And when you're not feeling well, you're not engaged. You don't want to talk to people. You don't want to do anything. And so I think for me, the biggest thing was anytime we would argue, you know, I would be like, oh, it's your hormones. It's your hormones. It's your hormones. And he still does. Thanks. But that is my biggest thing, is like, not everything can be blamed on hormones. 100% some of it can be. 100% I know when I am being hormonal, because you can feel it. You can feel when you're like, I'm being completely irrational right now. But sometimes it's genuine, and I don't think it's fair that any type of concern is just brushed off as this is hormones. So from that standpoint, men, if you're watching this, try not to say that all the time, because when I hear that, it sets me right off. So it's not like that all the time. It's the same as when you say to a woman, oh, it must be that time of the month. No, it's not. Okay? So one of the biggest thing for us, and I think the biggest thing for anybody, is the communication piece. And just having a genuine understanding. Adam understands that I am going through these changes. It took him a while to adjust. And I understand that he's not going through the same changes, so it's going to take him a little bit longer to process. He's probably not going to be a dad until Noah's here and he's holding her, and I have to understand that. So I think that's a big piece. I think communication is huge, especially, you know, with all of the changes we're going through, and the stresses, especially the stresses with COVID-19. You know, making sure that communication piece is really there, and that you're talking about your feelings and you're talking about the changes you're going through. You know, I try to, if I'm having a day where I know I'm really emotional and I'm not feeling the best, I try to voice that right away, to say, listen, today is not my day. I'm letting you know now. You know, don't come at me, bro, you know? One of the biggest things for me too, and anybody who knows me, is I am crazy when it comes to my sleep, and it's my number one fear for when we have Noah, because I need my sleep. I've always been like that. I could sleep at any time of the day, any day. I'm just crazy when it comes to sleep. So I'm nervous for when the baby comes, because I know I'm not gonna be getting it. Yes, I know, I hear it all the time. Everybody tells me, when the baby comes, you're not gonna be able to sleep. Yeah, we know. So I'm anxious about that. Like, I genuinely am. And so prior to me being really pregnant, I actually slept with earplugs with Adam, because Adam snores incredibly loud. He's actually had surgery. It's helped, but not anything crazy. And then of course we got our puppy, and our puppy is a huge snorer. So they both snore so loud. So I slept with earplugs because it was the only way that I would get some sort of a decent sleep. And it was the only way that we could actually sleep together in the same room. When we were living at our other place previously, and I wasn't sleeping with earplugs, there was a lot of nights where I would either make him go to the other room or I would go to another room, because I would be so cranky and so bitchy the next morning because I didn't have any sleep. And that would be one of our biggest arguments. I'm instantly waking up resentful. And it was even more so when I was pregnant. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm exhausted and I can't sleep. Because his snoring wakes him up, and then he tosses and he turns. He's a mover as well. So that I would say would be probably one of our number one cause of our arguments was, you know, we're both waking up grumpy because neither of us had a good sleep, because he's kept me up all night and I'm waking him up constantly. And it was, you know, we're already angry with each other, you know, and frustrated with each other the second we wake up. So as I started getting bigger and getting more and more uncomfortable, I ended up saying, you know what, you know, this isn't fair to him either, because he was getting up a lot earlier than me for work. He was getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I felt bad because I'm now tossing and turning, and I understand what it feels like to be that other person and be that person who's annoying the other one. So A lot of people think it's weird, but Adam and I decided that we would sleep in different bedrooms for the time being. And I can tell you that it has been the biggest lifesaver for both of us. So we have a king size bed in our room and a king size bed in the spare room. So I was like, you know what, I'll sleep in the spare room. I can bring my pregnancy pillow. Weirdly enough, I'm more comfortable sleeping horizontally in bed than I am vertically. So I'm kind of all over the place. And it gives me the ability to not feel guilty when I'm constantly moving or constantly having to get up to go pee, or, you know, I can't sleep. I have that insomnia. So I'm, you know, trying to find ways to get myself to go back to sleep. He can, you know, get his sleep. Him and the dog can snore as much as they want in their room, even though I can still hear them through the wall, but it's not as bad. So that's one thing that's really helped us, and it's helped with a lot of other arguments because we're not in a bad mood. We're both getting the sleep that we need. And how we kind of do it is we go to bed together, and then right before we go to sleep, I actually move into the spare room, and then first thing in the morning, we crawl back into bed with each other and we actually cuddle, and I'm just in such a better mood because I got that sleep that I needed. Even though I'm waking up constantly in the night, it's me, it's not him waking me up. So I don't have that resentment towards him, as bad as that sounds. So that's been working for us. And some people think it's weird because we're married and we're sleeping in different bedrooms, and I think that it's bad. But, you know, if anything, it's been a lot better for our relationship since we've done that, because, you know, now I've never been a big cuddler, I'll be honest. And now in the mornings and before bed, we're cuddling. We're excited to see each other in the morning. We're both starting off the day happy. He's rested. You know, I've gotten enough sleep. And it works for us. And we've even talked about continuing that when the baby comes, because he'll obviously still be working and I won't. You know, us maybe keeping that, just because I know already that if we're sleeping in the same room and he's snoring and the dog's snoring and I can't sleep, because I won't sleep with earplugs with the baby, that I'll be just furious. So we're gonna figure it out. But the whole kind of point of this is that you really have to find what works for the two of you in your relationship. At the end of the day, it's your relationship, it's nobody else's. What works for one couple may not work for another one. At the end of the day, you have to figure out what works best for the both of you, because it's your lives, and it's how you guys want to structure things for when your baby comes. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or what anybody else says. I mean, Adam and I hear it all the time, like, you guys sleep in other different rooms, like, isn't that bad? You're newly married. And it's like, no, it's actually been better for our relationship because I don't want to rip his eyes out every morning. So I think that would be, you know, my three biggest pieces of advice that have worked for me is communication, 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 finding and adapting to what works best for you guys in the moment. During pregnancy, just because things are changing, your relationship may need to change a little bit or adjust to better suit, you know, each person's wants and needs at that time. And I think just, you know, trying to have that mutual understanding that it isn't just us going through the change, they are going through the change as well. And trying to remember that, and being respectful that we're both individuals and we both process things different ways, and you need to understand it and work on it. You know, relationships work are hard work. So that's it for me. I really just wanted to talk about how, you know, it's not always, you know, rainbows and butterflies when it comes to relationships and pregnancy. Yes, it's a blessing and it's a beautiful time in your guys' lives, but change then comes and your relationship has to adjust, and it's going to have to adjust again when the baby comes. And it's just knowing and being prepared for that and doing whatever you have to do to make your relationship work for you during that time. So that's it for me. I hope everybody enjoyed. I will be doing another vlog actually that I think I'm going to be posting to my YouTube channel on what I eat in a day. So I'm going to be editing that tomorrow and then posting it. And if anybody has any suggestions or wants me to discuss anything for next Sunday's vlog, please let me know. I am open to talk about whatever it might be. Thanks so much. Bye guys.